Chapter 5, The Hidden Court. As Alara's sister had instructed, she closed her eyes and listened, following what her instincts told her. Stepping into the shadow felt like diving beneath cold water. For a heartbeat, Alara couldn't see. She couldn't hear. She couldn't even feel the ground beneath her feet. Then the darkness released her. She stumbled forward into sunlight. Alara stopped. Before her stretched an enormous hidden valley surrounded by black mountains. Crystal rivers shimmered beneath silver-leaved trees. Towering mushrooms glowed with soft blue light. Hundreds of shadow fae moved through the valley. Some tended gardens where midnight-colored flowers bloomed. Others practiced with blades forged from living shadow. Children chased glowing shadow foxes across wide fields. It wasn't a camp. It was a city. "We survived," Selene said quietly. "All these years." Alara could barely speak. "I thought. You thought we were monsters." "No." She looked around. "I thought you were gone." An elderly shadow fae approached. His long silver hair reached his waist, and dark tattoos covered his arms. All he passed lowered their heads in respect to him. "Welcome home," he said. Alara frowned. "I've never been here." He smiled. "But your blood has." Over the next several weeks, Alara learned that nearly everything she had been taught about the Shadow Fae was a lie. Each morning, Selene led her through the Hall of Echoes, an ancient chamber carved into the heart of Blackstone Mountain. The walls shimmered with living shadow, preserving memories left behind by generations of Shadow Fae. Unlike written books, these memories could be experienced. By placing a hand against the black stone, Alara could witness echoes of the past as though she were standing among them. The first memory showed the world as it had existed nearly 1,000 years earlier. Long before the 7 Fae kingdoms were founded, the realms had not been separated by walls or magical barriers. The mortal realm, where humans lived, the Fae realm, and the nightmare realm had once brushed against one another like overlapping tides. At certain places, ancient forests, forgotten ruins, mountain passes, and deep caves, the veil between worlds became dangerously thin. Sometimes, harmless spirits wandered through. Sometimes, lost travelers crossed into the wrong world. And sometimes, nightmares escaped. These creatures were unlike any beast Alara had ever imagined. They had no true form, changing shape with every fearful thought they encountered. They fed on terror, twisting dreams into reality and driving entire villages to madness before disappearing back into the darkness. The Shadow Fae had been created to stand watch over those fragile places. Unlike other Fae, whose magic came from sunlight, rivers, forests, or stars, Shadow Fae drew their strength from balance. They understood darkness not as evil, but as the natural counterpart to light. They could sense rips in the veil between realms long before anyone else. They could weave shadows into magical seals that closed the breaches and prevented nightmares from entering the world. They were never soldiers, Selene explained as the memory faded. They were guardians. Another memory unfolded. Alara watched hundreds of Shadow Fae standing beneath towering stone arches covered in glowing runes. Together, they raised their hands, weaving strands of darkness into shimmering barriers that stretched across the sky like enormous webs. "What are they doing?" Alara asked. "The Veil Wards," Selene answered. "Every generation, our people renewed the ancient seals that separated the 3 realms. Without them, the Nightmare Realm would slowly consume the others." Alara frowned. "If our people protected everyone, why were they hated?" Selene's face grew solemn. "Because people often fear what they don't understand." She touched another memory. This one was different. A gathering of the 7 Fae kings and queens filled a magnificent crystal hall. The High Queen stood before them, her golden crown shining brighter than the sun. One frightened noble stepped forward. "Why should we trust those who command darkness?" Another added, "If they can close the gates, they can open them. They keep secrets. They grow stronger every generation. What if they decide to rule us instead?" The accusations echoed through the chamber. None were supported by evidence. But fear spread faster than truth. Years passed in only moments as Alara watched the memories unfold. Rumors became laws. Shadow Fae were forbidden from serving on royal councils. They were barred from teaching at the magical academies. Trade with their villages became restricted. Parents warned their children never to wander near Shadow Fae forests. Every strange event, a failed harvest, an unexplained disappearance, a nightmare epidemic, was blamed on them. They became convenient, Selene said quietly. When people are frightened, they want someone to blame. The final memory was the hardest to watch. The High Queen stood before thousands of Fae gathered in the capital. Her voice rang across the city. The Shadow Fae have betrayed the realms. She claimed they had secretly opened the borders to the Nightmare Realm. She claimed they intended to overthrow the 7 kingdoms. She claimed they had become corrupted by darkness itself. The crowd believed every word. There was no trial, Alara whispered. No. No proof. None. The Shadow Fae never betrayed anyone. Selene met her gaze. We were condemned because we possessed a kind of magic the others feared. The declaration became the beginning of what history would later call the Shadow War. Villages burned. Families disappeared. Guardians who had once defended the kingdoms found themselves hunted by those they had protected. The surviving Shadow Fae chose exile over extinction. Rather than wage war against innocent Fae, they vanished into places no map recorded, protecting the realm from the shadows while allowing the world to believe they had all been destroyed. They chose to disappear, Alara said softly. They chose peace, Selene corrected, even when no one offered them any. While Alara spent her days uncovering the truth, Rowan and Nessa slowly found their own places among the hidden Shadow Fae. At first, many regarded them with suspicion. They were light Fae, after all, and few outsiders had ever been allowed to enter the hidden veil. But Rowan's easy smile and endless curiosity wore down even the grumpiest Fae elders. Within days, he could often be found helping the Shadow Forgers repair enchanted weapons. He had an unfortunate habit of asking far too many questions. So, if shadow steel can't rust, does that mean I never have to polish it? Master Kalen sighed. That is your concern. It seems practical. It is a legendary weapon. Yes, but does it need polishing? The old weaponsmith eventually gave Rowan a broom and told him to sweep the forge instead. Somehow, Rowan managed to set the broom on fire despite having no fire magic whatsoever. This caused the stern weaponsmith, for the first time since Rowan met him, to laugh. Nessa, meanwhile, gravitated toward the keepers of the wells. Beneath the valley flowed underground rivers infused with ancient magic. The Shadow Fae used the water not only for drinking, but for healing and strengthening the Vale wards. The elder healer, Eliza, discovered that Nessa's River Fae abilities harmonized beautifully with the enchanted waters. Unlike shadow magic, which stabilized the barriers from one side, Nessa's water magic could soothe cracks in the magical currents that fed them. For the first time in her life, Nessa was learning techniques no River Fae in Luminara had practiced for centuries. One evening, Alara found both of her friends sitting beside a crystal stream. Rowan skipped a pebble across the water. I've decided your secret civilization is much nicer than our kingdom. Nessa nodded. They actually listen before judging people. Alara sat beside them. I keep thinking about everything we've learned. Rowan looked at her. You mean that your people spent centuries protecting everyone, and everyone thanked them by trying to wipe them out? She nodded. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to, Nessa said quietly. History isn't always written by the people who were right. Alara watched the moon reflect on the water. For the first time since discovering she was a Shadow Fae, she no longer felt like she had lost her place in the world. She had found it. The real question was whether the world was ready to learn the truth. They had survived it. Hidden beneath enchantments so powerful that even history had forgotten them. Before bed, Alara went to speak with the elder. You weren't evil, Alara whispered. The elder shook his head. No, Then why didn't you tell anyone? Because dead people are left alone. Training began the next morning. Unlike the Academy of Gifts, Shadow Fae training focused on discipline rather than force. Darkness is alive, Selene explained. You do not command it. You ask it. Ilara frowned. That sounds impossible. So does walking through shadows. Selene had a point. The first lesson involved shaping shadows into simple objects. Most students began with a pebble. Ilara accidentally created a wolf. It bounded happily across the training grounds before dissolving into smoke. Everyone stopped to stare. Selene blinked. No beginner has ever done that. I didn't mean to. I know. The second lesson was Shadow Step. Unlike Ilara's wild attempts, experienced Shadow Fae could cross an entire battlefield by traveling through connected shadows. Selene disappeared beneath one tree. A heartbeat later, she emerged nearly 100 yards away. When shadows touch, she explained, distance becomes meaningless. Ilara practiced for hours. By sunset, she could travel 20 feet without falling into a bush. Rowan applauded dramatically. I'm proud of you. Ilara rolled her eyes. You laughed when I landed in a pond. I was proud then too. That evening, Ilara found Malin and the Fae elder waiting outside one of the stone halls of the castle. Her aunt looked exhausted. How did you find me? I asked the shadows to bring me. I've always known this place existed. You lied. Yes. Why? Malin's eyes filled with tears. Because I promised your mother. Ilara's heart stopped. You knew my mother. I loved her like a sister. So Selene is exactly who she says she is. Everything Ilara believed about her life shifted. Malin reached into her cloak. She removed a small silver pendant, shaped like a crescent moon, wrapped in black vines. It belonged to your mother. Inside was a tiny painting. Two young women, one with black wings whose face looked almost the same as hers. The other woman was her Aunt Malin, both women smiling. The woman who looked strangely like herself held a baby and the little girl's hand. Ilara stared.